Hello everyone, today I embark on the biggest challenge I've ever put myself up to, which is trying to replicate my favorite tank on the whole wide world. Well, at least a slice of it. You might remember that on our trip to Japan last year, I fell in love with aquascaping again. And the reason for that was seeing Yukoma's 7-meter tank at Aawa Sapporo. Well, it's been, what, 7-8 months since that? And it still haunts me, that aquarium, and the emotions that aquarium gave to me and enlightened in me. So today I'm going to try to replicate a small part of the tank. Obviously I don't have a 7-meter tank. The whole wall is not 7 meter long. I have a 120p, and there is a certain part of this aquarium that is a highlight for me, and I'm going to try to do that here. I have a few limiting factors, and this is where the excuses begin. First of all, although we have Hakai stone, we don't have big ones. The biggest ones we have are about 30 centimeters, so that should be reaching up to here and put in soil. So it's not high enough, not gonna work. I'm gonna replace it with white rhino, which is sort of close in looks. A few plants I need to replace. One of my favorite plants, Blix Alberti, which is not available in Europe in commercial form, so we can't get that. And also some of the plants, because of the ratios, the sizes, I need to replace with other ones. Like in the original, there is Cyperus Health Fairy in front of the rocks. Now Cyperus is about this big, so if I put it in front of the rocks, I don't see the rocks themselves. So yeah, challenges like that are up ahead. What I'm trying to do is give you the same feeling that I got. The whole trip to Japan, I believe, influenced me into this way. A few months ago, I've built a 90 centimeter walk-around tank, which is really nature-style tank, something that's a bit out of my comfort zone, and this is one step further. So yeah, let's start with the soil. I need a base layer, and then we start putting in those rocks. I need to find the perfect ones. So I'm going to use 88 Power Sand Advance. Since it's a big aquarium, I'm going to use the L size. One of those special occasions when I don't forget to put in the Amazonia supplements on top of the substrate. I'm going to throw in the first bag. That's already the second bag. And I think that's going to be my base. We'll see later on if I need more. Just going to spread this out. I think I'm going to clean up the front completely. So when I place in the rocks, it will push forward the soil anyway. So I want it to be, empty in the beginning, and then I'll fill up as I need to after the rocks are in. Obviously, this is not a hardscape heavy tank. There's 3 stones. That's it. But they have to be perfect. So I need a stone standing like this. I need a secondary stone standing like this behind. There needs to be a gap in between because there are plants in between. I need a third stone over here. That's the return flow. I highly recommend, if you haven't seen it, then go watch Homat-san's seminar about how he builds the iwagumis and lots of other stuff as well. The flow itself is really important in the hardscape, and something that's a bit difficult to comprehend or to explain. I'm not even sure if I understand it correctly, we'll see. But if the flow comes from this side, which is gonna come from this side, then obviously it's gonna tilt the big rock this way, but that rock reflects the flow. That's how it goes in nature. Just get your garden hose out and push water on a rock. It's gonna splash back on you. So that makes a return, and that return is gonna make the rock behind stand like this, and that flow, as it returns, it faces the original flow, so it comes back again. So that's where the third stone comes in, which is slightly tilting towards here, but it's not even tilting. It should be a rock that's almost standing flat on the bottom, and its surface has a tilt in it. So that's the basic principle of how you represent flow inside the tank. So I need my perfect piece here, and actually that flow is stronger than the reflecting flow, so this stone is a bit lower than the other one. Whenever I build Iwagumi, I try to reach the water surface with one rock, but in this case I want to achieve that with the plants behind the rocks. So I believe that's enough talking. I need to choose my superstars, who was it? My Tom Cruise. I need my Tom Cruise.
Think of stones as actors in a film. If the main rock is Tom Cruise, the supporting rocks shouldn't outshine it.
So probably this is going to be my main stone, and the main stone in this case is the one in the back. That's the higher one. And I'm thinking again about the flow. As I mentioned, the flow is going to push this towards the right. That's a given. But I'm also trying to look at the texture of the stone, because that needs to correlate with the flow. Now, what I need to sort out is I need to make this stone stand. So I've actually asked Laurie to go check for some stones that I can put underneath for support. That's quite tricky, finding this stone, because if it's too small, then the angle is going to be too low. It's going to be flat. If the stone is too big, then it's going to stay visible, which I don't want. I want to be able to hide the supporting stone with plants. So what you should do is put in 2 or 3 more, just here on the side, so we can reach for it. We should put it like this. It's bigger than I thought. Let's take it out. This is too big. Sorry. We should go with something like this. But I need the right side to be higher. This could be the right side, and this could be the left. This one in on my own, that's fine. So that stands, but it's way too visible. I need space behind it for the plants. I need space between the 2 stones for the plants. Oh, this is not the one. This would give me space. What if putting that one in the front, and then maybe we can use that for support somehow. So we take this out. So that one is perfect, sort of stable. They should be slightly higher. Don't need much, like this. Okay, I like that. I can live with that. These stones are gonna represent something that I've also learned from Homer-san on his workshop. I never thought of this, but they use some stones in a way that they just blend around them, but the stones are not actually visible in the final scape. The only thing they do is make a gap in between plants. So I'm gonna have some higher grass type here and have some even higher here in the back. There's actually gonna be empty space in between, which if these plants grow properly, then the rocks behind them won't be visible. You're just gonna see a gap on the top of the plants. Coming back to the flow comes from here, reflects from this stone, that's what tilts this, and then it comes back like this. So I need something in here that's standing like this, but much smaller than the rest. I believe at the moment that's too big. I'm not sure if we should pull the whole thing towards the right, the big ones. Put it down. We have another problem. What I discovered looking at the inspiration is this one should be even more flat, just needs to tilt a bit. This one we need to pull towards the right. I like it. Can we somehow replace these? I'm still worried that the plants won't do a good enough job covering all this. Just imagine it's all this hidden by plants, and there are plants in here as well. So now the gap seems to be too big, but I think it will be fine with the plants. I'm gonna try to figure out this side because this is not the way to go. That works for me. The problem I have now is the depth of the tank. This stone should be a stone that has a surface here and a surface here, so this surface should be highlighted and this should be in the shadows. But I don't have space for that. So I tilted this a bit towards the back, so I still have a highlight here on the top and shadows on here. Not perfect, but we do what we can. The final step, we put in a small piece of stone in between that actually works like a bridge. Laurie is going to glue that as well for both of the big stones, and that gets rid of this wobbliness. So now I'm going to clean up the power sand that we messed up in the front, and then I'm going to apply some more soil, and then we plant. This is the whole hardscape, which is surprising for me. The even more surprising bit is that I don't want to add to it. Usually I can't stop at a stage like this, but I'm changing. I'm maturing, it seems. So, I just found another picture and I realized there are two more stones in this small section. One is an almost flat one. It doesn't even stick out to the soil, but it should be around here and should be small. And there's another one here. I'm going to replicate those. Really, I don't want to throw off the balance. These won't be big. So the hardscape is done. I think in this case, here comes the even more important part, the planting. There's a lot to win or lose on this one, I think. Let's make the soil bet. Okay, so I just drew a line in the soil. Outside of the line, it's going to be carpeting plants, the small ones. Behind it, you're going to go crazy with gradually bigger grass type plants. As for the carpet, I have Glossostigma, I have Monte Carlo, and I have Articularis Mini. So it's going to be a mix of carpeting plants. I thought about Homerson's advice on the workshop about planting carpets with different species mixed all together so they can compete, because this competition is going to make the plants thrive even more. They are the same as we perform best under pressure, or at least some of us. I have a small tip for you guys. If you become a member of our YouTube channel, then you actually get to see every new video on Monday, so a few days before the actual public release. So hi everyone from our members. Okay, so that's all the Glossostigma. I'm gonna go with the Monte Carlo. It actually might be interesting later on as well to see how the development of these plants go, because I can see a scenario where Monte Carlo starts growing quick, and then with the trimmings the Glossostigma takes over. And actually I'm hoping to see something like that. That's what makes a nature aquarium alive. Now I'm actually planting a few pieces behind the line that I drew first to make sure that I blend in the different plants. So I want to blend the higher plants as well with these carpeting plants. That's the Monte Carlo done as well. And now I'm going with the Articularis Mini, and this will start the transition for the grass type plants. It's going to come forward anyway, so it's going to stick out in between the other plants later on, because although it's a bit slower than the Monte Carlo or the Glossostigma, but it runs a different way. So the Monte Carlo and the Glossostigma, they run above the soil or in the very top layer of the soil, and the Alocaris runs on the bottom and just starts growing out, so they won't bother each other. Some areas I'm gonna make more heavy, some areas I'm gonna make thinner. Let nature do the rest. So the main carpet is done. We are getting into transition towards the back. And the back itself is a mixture of different heights and different thickness of grass type plants. I'm gonna go with the Blixa, which is not part of the original build. There's nothing similar in the original build, but there is the Blixa Alberti, which is very similar in colors, very similar in the texture of the leaves, the thickness of the leaves. Big difference, the Japonica we have is about this big, the Alberti is about this big. That should be in the background, this should be in the foreground. Okay, that's it for the Blixa. I'm gonna go with the Tanalum Red, very small amount, which you can just want to throw around the carpet, and it's just gonna be visible in a few spots. And actually, I have a surprise for this build later on. As you can see at the moment, we have Chihiro's Vivid's 2 lights on here. They might change by the time we finish. And then I have the Alocaris acicularis, which is the longer type of hairgrass, the very thin one, which goes in between the rocks and in front of the rocks. This plant goes here in the back as well, on the right side behind the lower rock. This is going to be the softer side of the build, both in hardscape and in planting, and the thicker plant is going to go on the other side behind the rocks. So I'm almost finished with the planting. As for the background, I'm going to have Alocaris montevidensis, which is again the same type of hairgrass, just the really long one. It's going to curve on the top of the surface. To mimic the red Blixa Alberti, I'm going to use Cryptocorinne spiralis red. That turns red as well, so I'm going to mix it in with the Cyperus, and that way hopefully I'm going to have the visuals of this pinkish tone instead of a deep red or a really bright green. As I mentioned, we can't source the Blixa Alberti from within the EU as a company. But if any of you guys within the EU can send me some Blixa Alberti, I will be forever grateful. If you have some, please message on any of our social platforms or an email or anything. And what's really important in this original layout, what caught my attention and what I definitely want to at least try to replicate, is to have the actual flow different in the front and the back. If you look at the original, you can see that in the front, all these long plants are tilting this way, so the flow comes towards the left. But if you look at the background plants, they all lean towards the right. So besides creating the flow visually with the hardscape, the original layout creates and mimics the same flow with the plants. And I actually have an idea to do that in here. We'll see if it works or not. I'm not really yet sure, but stick around to find out. Now comes the final plant, the Cyperus halferi, which is almost like a foreground or midground plant in the original layout because of the height difference, but it's going to be perfect for me behind the big rocks, the green part of the curtain. We just found a few Alocaris parvula, the potted one, not in vitro, so it's gonna end up the same way as what I've already planted in front of the bigger rocks. But since it's potted version, not in vitro, it's already higher. So I'm gonna pop those in, even though it's fully planted and this should be enough. I want it to look much better from fill up. Covering certain parts of the rocks is really important from the get-go to have it as a nice visual. It's just gonna get better later on once these in vitro plants start growing as well. So this is it. I'm done with the hardscape, done with the planting. Stick around to see my idea how we're gonna do the double way flow on the aquarium. Stick around to see but light comes in here, and I already have some idea for fish. I'm not going to tell you just now. See in a few seconds. So here we are a month later, and there's a lot to update you guys on. First of all, the tank itself, it's coming along quite nicely. Upgrades outside the tank. While we've been waiting for the tank to develop, we have actually received the Chihiro's Vivid 3 lights, the new generation. Quite nice, sleek design. It's a lot different from the Vivid 2 that we are used to. It has a bit less glare, even without shades. It already has some quite active cooling on the top, which is actually optional. You just take it off like this, you have the electrical connections there, and it's held on by magnets. And as soon as you take them off, the light dims itself automatically, I presume, to protect itself from overheating. So that's quite smart. And they are really powerful. They are running at 35% at the moment, which is crazy. I have no idea where you would need these to run 100% at, probably with some like really high tanks. And color-wise, they are about the same as they were with the Vivid 2s. So yeah, it's just a small upgrade with a lot more power, and for me personally, a bit nicer design. And now it's time to try my great idea, which we'll see if it's actually going to be great. One of my favorite aspects of the original tank is the fact that they had the flow coming both ways, and it gives a special dynamic to the layout. We're going to try to install this instead of the lily pipe. This is an Aquarium premium outflow whatever, but we're going to put it on the wrong way around actually. Usually it comes like this, and then you have the outflow coming here. But now I'm going to use the long side of it, so it goes deep, and I only put on this jet at the end, which is going to make sure that the flow is going to be strong and concentrated. And what I'm hoping for is it's going to blow these Heliocaryces this way. The other side, I'm going back to a classic, the Eheim skim. Most of our tanks nowadays, we use these floater skim inlets, which are a bit nicer than this visually, but as the effect itself, I still prefer the original. These are much stronger and they are better for the actual purpose. And in this case, they are not just sucking water in on the top, but it actually blows it back. So that's gonna give me the flow the other way around. Let's see if it works. Works, which is a surprise for me and for everyone here. I have the flow coming here on the front, and I have the flow going there in the back, which is exactly what I wanted to achieve. I'm a bit curious how it's going to look after a few weeks, if it's going to develop any algae, because you can get algae issues from too harsh direct flow. There might be some BBA starting to develop on these leaves, but yeah, I'm hoping it won't, or we can control it somehow. The question that probably comes up in you is, how are we going to have aeration on the surface of the tank without the lily pipes? Well, we have it by the skimmers, and that's why actually I still have the skimmer inflow as well, and the Eheim skimmer beside it. So we definitely pull in enough fresh air into the tank, besides putting in obviously CO2 in the system. This is how I imagine this tank. This is the life I wanted it inside. Obviously it's still not finished. The foreground still needs some time to develop. The background still needs time to develop as well. We've talked about the foreground plants and their fight. I've put in Glossostigma Monte Carlo and Atzicularis Mini, and I've wanted to see who's gonna win. For now, it would be difficult to say exactly, but the Glossostigma seems to rule this part, and the Monte Carlo is this part. I have no idea why, but we're gonna see how it develops later on. And of course, the Atzicularis mini is starting to creep up everywhere. This is what I wanted, to have these plants fight it out and grow wherever they want, and that's what's gonna make this more natural than usually with, for example, a monospecies Iwagumi. In the background, the Spiralis Red Cryptocoryne is coming up as well. You don't really see this from the front yet, but it's gonna reach the top in a few weeks' time, and that's gonna give me the reddish tones in the background. I think that mixed with the Cyperus, it's gonna be real nice. Fish, I've gone for big ones, which I never do. I have some pearl gouramis in here, which I think are perfect for this layout. They started picking on the carpet. Now, hopefully, as the carpet is going to develop and it's actually going to close up, it won't be a problem anymore. But now they actually tend to pick out a few pieces from time to time. We've learned that for the future that we probably should introduce them a bit later once the carpet is fully developed. What you don't see, but I also have here because I thought it's gonna be a great match for the gouramis and it's gonna look great, is some ghost catfish. Now, this type of fish is barely visible anyway because it's basically translucent. You can only see the bones inside, but they are actually hiding behind the rocks. So it wasn't the best choice. Believe me, they are in there. I hope you guys like it as much as I do. Please let me know in the comments. And if you are curious about the original, the tank that inspired me to do this, you can check out a video about Aawa Sapporo over here. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining me. Goodbye.